Commander Elias Cade had always believed that silence was a gift. For years, silence had been stolen from him by the endless roar of starship engines, the screams of soldiers, and the thunder of alien weapons. Now at last he sat in the middle of a forest on a forgotten moon, and all he could hear was the slow whisper of the wind through the trees. The crash had almost killed him. His shuttle, old and patched together, had taken a hit from a meteor storm and the engines failed. He had no choice but to land on this uncharted moon. The landing was rough, tearing one wing apart, but he had survived. Against all odds, Elias Cade had survived. The moon was beautiful in its own strange way. The sky was painted with two suns, one golden and one pale white, giving the air a constant shimmer. Trees with long glassy leaves bent and swayed, reflecting light like mirrors. Strange bird-like creatures flew in flocks, their cries echoing in the valley. It was nothing like Earth. Yet it gave him the same quiet he had longed for since his first day in the war. He built a shelter from the wreckage of his shuttle, using metal plates for walls and a thick tarp for a roof. It was small, just enough for one man to rest, but it was safe. He scavenged the food supplies from the emergency kit, planted a few ration seeds in the soil, and learned to hunt the smaller animals of the forest. Each day became easier and each night became calmer. For the first time in a decade, Elias Cade felt peace. He believed he was safe. Memories of war. Elias was not a young man anymore. His hair was turning gray at the sides and a scar ran down his jaw, a mark from a battle long ago. He had been a commander in the Terran Defense Fleet, leading soldiers against alien invaders in battles that stretched across half the galaxy. Humanity had been new to the stars then, still inexperienced, still learning. He had seen victory, but he had also seen the terrible cost. Entire colonies burned, cities on alien worlds turned to ash, friends lost, comrades gone. The war was not filled with glory as the leaders often promised. It was filled with exhaustion, regret, and too many graves. That was why, when the chance came to disappear, Elias took it. He left the fleet, stole away on an old shuttle, and searched for a place the galaxy had forgotten. This moon seemed perfect. No star maps listed it, no trade routes passed near it, no scanners reached its skies. He told himself he would never fight again. A new routine days passed in a rhythm that felt almost human again. He woke at dawn, checked the traps he had set in the forest, collected fresh water from a stream, and returned to his shelter. He cleaned the weapons he had salvaged, an old rifle, half working, and a plasma cutter for defense. He hunted when food was low, but never more than he needed. At night, he sat by the fire he had built in a circle of stones. He would watch the stars above, wondering which ones still carried human colonies, which ones were already taken by alien empires, and which ones remained untouched. Sometimes, he spoke aloud to himself, as if answering questions no one asked. Other times, he spoke to the photograph he kept in his pocket, a small image of his sister back on Earth. He did not know if she was alive, but the picture reminded him of who he was fighting for all those years. Slowly, Elias began to believe this would be enough. A quiet life, a hidden life, a safe life, the night of disturbance, but safety never lasts forever. One night, as the golden sun dipped low and the pale sun rose high, Elias lay half asleep in his shelter. The fire outside had burned low, glowing faintly. The air was colder than usual, carrying a sharp edge that made his skin tighten. Something woke him. It was not sound exactly, but a feeling. His old instincts from the war, the ones that had saved his life many times, screamed at him. Something was wrong. Someone was near. Elias reached for his rifle. His heart beat faster, but his breath remained calm. He had trained too long to let fear take control. Slowly, carefully, he turned his head toward the firelight outside his shelter. At first he thought he was dreaming. There, standing just beyond the edge of the flames, was a tall figure. The figure wore silver armor that shimmered like liquid metal under the starlight. A long cloak, dark as shadow, swayed in the wind. The figure did not move, did not speak, only watched. Elias froze. His finger tightened on the rifle, but he did not raise it. The figure was no wild animal, no scavenger. It was someone or something that had been searching. Then, with a slow and deliberate motion, the figure lifted both hands to its helmet. The metal folded back, revealing a face beneath. It was a woman. Her skin was pale with a faint silver hue, as if light lived beneath it. Her eyes glowed faintly gold, sharp and intelligent, scanning him without fear. Her hair, dark and straight, fell over her shoulders, reflecting the fire. She said nothing at first. Only her gaze spoke, and it said clearly, "I have found you." The first words, Elias sat up, rifle still in hand, though he lowered it slightly. His voice was calm, though his chest was tight. "Who are you?" The woman tilted her head as if weighing the question. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was smooth, but carried an accent unlike any human tongue. "My name is Serenia," she said softly. "And you are far from safe, Commander Cade." The sound of his name cut through him like a blade. He had not told anyone his name in years. How did she know? Elias's eyes narrowed. "How do you know me?" Serenia stepped closer to the firelight. Her armor glimmered as she moved, each plate shifting like liquid, fitting perfectly to her form. She looked neither hostile nor weak. Instead, she looked certain. "I know you because I was there," she answered. "I saw you on the battlefield. Years ago. You may not remember me, but I remember you." Elias shook his head. He had seen thousands in the war, millions even. He could not remember a single alien face from those endless fights. Yet something in her eyes told him she spoke truth. He tightened his grip on the rifle. "If you came here for revenge, you won't find me an easy target." A small smile touched her lips. "If I wanted you dead, Commander, you would not have woken at all." Her words carried no arrogance, only certainty. Elias felt the truth in them, doubt and peace. The fire crackled between them. Elias kept his distance, studying her. She did not raise a weapon, nor did she make a move toward him. Instead, she looked around his camp, the shelter, the fire, the traps near the trees. Her expression softened, almost curious. "You thought you were safe here," she said quietly. "But the galaxy never forgets. Not about you. Not about me." Elias's jaw tightened. He wanted to demand answers, to force her to explain. But another part of him, an older, more cautious part, knew better. Questions could wait. Right now, he needed to understand what danger had come to his so-called refuge. "Why are you here?" he asked firmly. Serenia's golden eyes met his, unblinking. "Because the war you left behind has not ended. And whether you want it or not, Commander Cade, the war has found you again." Elias felt the weight of her words settle on his chest like stone. For the first time since he had landed on this moon, he realized something he had tried not to admit. There is no such thing as a safe place. Not for him, and not anymore. The fire between them burned low, throwing shadows across the forest clearing. Elias Cade sat with his rifle across his lap, his eyes locked on the strange woman who had stepped into his refuge. Serenia stood calm, her silver armor reflecting the glow. She was not afraid of him, not cautious like most who had ever met a human soldier. Instead, she looked at him as if she had been searching for him all along. Elias did not trust her, but he could not deny that her sudden appearance had shaken him. He had thought himself hidden, cut off from the galaxy. Now he understood that even on this lonely moon the past could still reach him. A conversation in the firelight. "You speak my name," Elias said at last, his voice low. "You claim you know me. If that is true, then tell me why you came." Serenia tilted her head, golden eyes glinting. "Because silence does not last. This moon is not empty. You have left a mark on it with your ship, your signals, your very presence. Others will notice soon." Elias frowned. "That's not an answer." She smiled faintly as if she had expected his resistance. "I came because you are not just any man hiding from the war. You are Commander Elias Cade. Humans speak of you as the one who refused to burn whole cities when ordered. Aliens speak of you as the commander who fought with honor, even when the war demanded cruelty. And I..." She paused, her expression softening. "I remember you as the man who spared me and my people when others would not." The words hung heavy in the air. Elias felt them strike an old memory buried deep. A memory of fire reigning on an alien world, of orders to erase everything and of his refusal to carry them out. He remembered children hiding behind broken walls, and soldiers screaming at him to finish the job. He had not done it, but he had never known who survived that day. Until now, Elias looked away. That was a long time ago. "Time does not erase truth," Serenia replied. "The moon's secret." The night grew colder. The second sun dipped below the horizon and the sky filled with stars. Elias finally lowered his rifle, though he did not set it aside. Why here? He asked. This moon was supposed to be forgotten. Serenia walked slowly around the fire, her gaze sweeping the forest. It was forgotten by humans, yes, but not by others. This moon lies on the edge of 3 territories, abandoned by all but claimed by none. That makes it dangerous. Many avoid it, but scavengers, hunters, and spies still pass through. Elias clenched his jaw. He had chosen this place because no maps marked it. But she was right. Space was never truly empty. And if she had found him, others could too. Then I should move, he muttered. No, Serenia said firmly. It is too late. Your landing left a trail. Your fire, your energy cells, even the signal from your ship's distress beacon. They shine like a star to those who know how to look. If I found you, others will as well. Elias felt anger rise in his chest. Anger at her, anger at himself. Anger at the cruel truth that peace had been an illusion. He stood pacing near the fire. I wanted nothing to do with the galaxy anymore, he said. I fought enough wars. I buried enough friends. I came here to be left alone. Serenia's voice softened. You may want peace, Commander. But peace does not want you. Signs in the sky the days that followed were uneasy. Elias could no longer enjoy the quiet of the forest, not with Serenia's warning in his mind. He began to notice things he had ignored before. Strange trails of smoke high in the sky, faint flashes at night as if ships passed far above. Serenia stayed near his camp, though she did not invade his space. She kept watch with the patience of a soldier, moving silently through the trees, returning with reports of signs she had seen. Scorch marks on rocks from recent landings, broken branches where something heavy had moved, faint signals in the air. Elias wanted to tell her to leave, to vanish back into the galaxy and let him remain, but a deeper part of him knew the truth. If she left, he would still not be safe. One night, as the golden sun fell, he finally asked, Why warn me? You could have left me to be found. Serenia looked at him across the fire. Because the war that is coming will not care who hides and who fights, and because I believe you are the kind of man who does not run forever. Elias shook his head. You don't know me. Her golden eyes narrowed. I know enough. Distrust and curiosity, despite his doubts, Elias found himself watching her closely. Serenia moved with the precision of a warrior, but also with the calm of someone who had endured loss. She carried no banner, no army, no symbol of an empire. Only her armor, her weapons, and her conviction. One afternoon, as they walked near the stream, Elias asked, Your people, where are they now? Her face hardened. Scattered, broken, some enslaved, some hiding. My dynasty is gone, my world is dust. I am what remains. Her words carried no weakness. Instead, they burned with quiet strength. Elias said nothing more, but he understood. She was like him, carrying scars of battles no one else would remember. That night, as he sat alone, Elias admitted something to himself. He did not trust Serenia fully, but neither did he hate her presence. In some strange way, her being there reminded him that he was not already dead. A warning, fulfilled on the 7th night since her arrival, Serenia woke him sharply. Elias, look! He rose, following her gaze to the horizon. In the dark sky, faint lights flickered, red and blue moving in formation. Ships. Elias's heart sank. They are not here yet, Serenia said. But they will be. They are scanning. Searching. Elias's first instinct was to flee deeper into the forest, to abandon his shelter. But Serenia placed a hand on his arm, steady and firm. Running will not help. They already know someone is here. If we do not prepare, you will die. Elias met her gaze. And you? Her expression was unreadable. I will fight, with or without you. The soldier returns. The following days changed Elias. He no longer lived as a simple survivor. Instead, the commander within him began to wake again. He repaired his rifle using parts from the shuttle to strengthen its power cells. He built defenses around his shelter, traps of sharpened stakes, hidden lines that triggered alarms. He studied the land like a battlefield, noting the high ground, the choke points, the streams that could be poisoned to slow enemies. Serenia trained with him. She showed him how to use alien scanners to detect signals, how to read the patterns of ships above, how to wield a blade of her people's design. In return, Elias taught her human tricks of survival, how to move silently through the woods, how to lay snares, how to use fire and smoke as weapons. Though he tried to deny it, Elias felt the old fire stirring in his chest. He had thought himself finished with war, but now he remembered the truth. Fighting was not only destruction, it was survival. The fear of discovery still at night doubt gnawed at him. He lay awake, staring at the stars, asking himself why he was preparing to fight again. He had run so far to escape. He had promised himself never to kill again. Yet now, with Serenya's presence, with the threat in the skies, he knew he had no choice. One evening, as the fire burned low, he spoke aloud, almost to himself. "I thought I could be safe here." Serenya, seated across from him, answered softly, "You can still live. But safety, that is a dream for children." Elias met her golden eyes. For the first time, he did not argue. The storm ahead, the signs of danger grew clearer. The ships in the sky circled lower each night. Strange noises echoed in the forest as if scouts had already landed. Elias felt the pressure building, the weight of an approaching storm. Yet he no longer felt alone. Serenya was there, moving like a shadow beside him. She was a reminder that even in a galaxy filled with enemies, there could still be allies. He did not trust her fully, not yet. But he began to believe her words, that silence could not last, and that he could not run forever. And deep inside, though he would never admit it aloud, Elias felt something he had not felt in years: hope. The forest moon was no longer silent. Commander Elias Cade had once believed this place was his final refuge, hidden from every eye in the galaxy. But the woman in silver armor, Serenya, had torn that belief apart with her warnings. And now the skies themselves confirmed her words. Strange lights drifted above the treetops at night, slow-moving and deliberate. Sometimes they blinked out only to return in different formations. Elias knew what they meant. Someone was hunting. The watchers in the sky every evening. Elias climbed the ridge near his camp to watch the horizon. From there he could see both suns sinking, one golden and one pale white, painting the forest in shifting colors. But more than that, he could see the faint outlines of starships gliding high above the atmosphere. They were too small to land craft directly, which meant they were sending scouts. Serenya joined him each night, her golden eyes following the movements with practiced calm. She seemed to know their patterns, as if she had studied them before. "They are searching quadrant by quadrant," she explained one evening. Her voice low. "Slow. Careful. They are certain something is down here." Elias kept his binoculars steady. "And they'll keep searching until they find it," she nodded. "Until they find you." The weight of those words pressed hard on him. It reminded Elias of something he had tried to forget. His name still carried meaning in the galaxy. To some it meant respect. To others, hatred. Either way, it meant he could never truly disappear. Memories of mercy that night as they returned to the campfire, Serenya spoke of the past. "You still don't remember, do you?" she asked, watching the flames dance. Elias sat with his rifle resting across his knees. "Remember what?" "The day you spared us," she said. "The day your fleet burned my world." Her voice was calm, but there was an edge beneath it. Elias's jaw tightened as the memory surfaced. A barren city reduced to rubble, orders to cleanse every survivor, the sound of children crying in the ruins. His refusal. "I disobeyed orders," Elias said quietly. "It nearly cost me my command. But it saved us," Serenya answered. "I was there. I saw you pull your soldiers back. You left us alive when every other commander would have finished the slaughter." He looked at her across the fire. For the first time, he saw not just a warrior in silver armor, but a survivor, a woman who had carried that moment through years of war and exile. "Why hold on to that memory?" he asked. "Your people still lost their world." "Because mercy is rare," she said firmly, "and because the man who showed it is the one standing before me now." Elias looked away, the firelight flickering against his scarred face. He had not wanted to be remembered for that day. He had simply done what he thought was right. But to her, it seemed, that single act carried meaning beyond the war itself. The growing tension. The following days were restless. Elias and Serenya worked side by side, strengthening the camp. He laid more traps in the forest, reinforced his shelter, and sharpened stakes for defenses. She calibrated her alien scanner to detect approaching signals. Though she warned him its range was limited, at night, they heard distant noises, strange hums, the hiss of engines, sometimes even the metallic clang of something moving among the trees. The scouts had landed. Elias knew it was only a matter of time before they reached his camp. But what unsettled him most was not the threat above. It was Serenia herself. She watched him with eyes that carried too much knowledge. She spoke his name with certainty, as if she had studied every page of his history. And though she claimed to have come as an ally, Elias could not shake the suspicion that she had her own reasons for finding him. The first encounter, it happened on the 9th night since her arrival. Elias had taken the first watch, sitting by the fire with his rifle ready. Serenia was resting nearby, though he suspected she was only pretending to sleep. The forest was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that made every instinct shout a warning. Then he saw it, a faint shimmer between the trees. Elias raised his rifle slowly. The shimmer moved, bending the light around it almost invisible. It was a cloaked scout, using technology he had seen before in battle. The kind designed for infiltration. Serenia, he whispered sharply. In an instant she was awake, her blade drawn, eyes glowing faintly gold. She moved with silent grace, circling wide through the trees. The shimmer advanced toward the camp, not yet aware it had been spotted. Elias waited, breath steady, finger on the trigger. Then at the perfect moment, Serenia struck from the side, her blade slicing the air. Sparks flared as the cloak shattered, revealing a tall insect-like alien covered in black armor. The scout hissed, raising a weapon, but Elias fired first. His shot struck the alien's chest, dropping it with a thud. The forest fell silent again. Elias lowered his rifle, his pulse steady but heavy. "So it begins," he muttered. Serenia stood over the fallen scout, her blade still glowing faintly. "They will know he is gone," she said. "More will come." Trust tested, they dragged the body into the forest and buried it under stones, though Elias knew it would not matter. The enemy ships would already notice the missing signal. The hunt would grow tighter. Back at the camp, Elias cleaned his rifle, but his thoughts were elsewhere. He glanced at Serenia, who was sharpening her blade with calm precision. "Why are you really here?" he asked suddenly. She looked up, her expression unreadable. "I told you. Because the war has followed you." "No," Elias pressed. "You could have left me. You could have stayed hidden. Instead, you sought me out. Why?" For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then Serenia spoke. "Because I believe you are the one who can stop what is coming." Elias frowned. "I'm just a soldier. A tired one. I don't lead fleets anymore." "But you led with honor," she said firmly, "and that is what the galaxy fears most. Not power, not weapons, but humans who refuse to break." Elias stared at her, uncertain whether to feel anger or disbelief. "You give me too much credit." "Perhaps," Serenia admitted, "but perhaps not enough." Shadows of the enemy over the next few nights, more signs appeared. Strange tracks near the stream. Burned patches of earth where cloaked ships had landed. Once, Elias and Serenia watched from the ridge as 3 alien scouts marched below, scanning with handheld devices. Elias kept his rifle ready, but Serenia stopped him with a hand. "Not yet. To kill them here is to reveal our exact place. We must wait." Patience had never been Elias's strength, but he understood. The time to fight would come, and when it did, they had to be ready. A reluctant bond, despite his suspicion, Elias could not ignore the truth. He needed her. Serenia moved with skill, read the enemy's signs, and carried knowledge he did not. Together they were stronger than apart, and something else lingered beneath the surface. In the way she spoke to him with quiet respect, in the way she had remembered his single act of mercy, years after he had forgotten it, Elias found himself watching her more than he intended. One evening, as they sat by the fire, he asked, "Do you hate me? For what humans did to your world?" Serenia's golden eyes met his. "I should, but I do not. Hate is easy. Respect is harder." Her words stayed with him long after the fire died down. The signal on the 12th night, Serenia's scanner picked up a strong reading. A coded signal pulsed through the air, repeating again and again. "They are calling reinforcements," she said grimly. "A full strike force." Elias's stomach tightened. He had hoped for more time, but time was gone. The hunters would soon become an army. Serenia looked at him across the campfire. "You must choose, Commander. Will you run again, or will you fight?" Elias stared into the flames, the weight of her question pressing heavy on his chest. He had run for so long, convincing himself peace could be found, but peace had never found him. And maybe it never would. When he finally looked up, his voice was steady. "If they come," he said, "then we make them regret it." Serenya's eyes glowed brighter in the firelight. She nodded once. "Then we stand together." For the first time since he had crashed on the moon, Elias Cade felt something stir within him. Not the weariness of a soldier, but the resolve of a commander. His past had found him. His war had returned, and this time he would not run. The forest was no longer a quiet place. Once Elias Cade had heard only the whisper of leaves and the cry of strange birds. Now he heard the distant hum of engines, the faint metallic click of machines moving among the trees, and sometimes the sharp sound of a weapon firing in the distance. The enemy scouts were searching. Their numbers were growing. Elias knew the peace he had built was gone. His camp was no longer a refuge, it was a target. And yet he was not alone anymore. Serenya, the woman in silver armor, stayed at his side. She had pulled him back into the life he had tried to bury. She had forced him to face what he was running from. And though Elias hated to admit it, he felt stronger with her near. Preparing for the storm days turned into nights as Elias and Serenya worked without rest. The small camp transformed into a fortress hidden in the woods. Elias built traps in the forest, not the simple snares he had once used for hunting, but deadly machines of sharpened wood and steel. He dug pits disguised with leaves and branches ready to swallow careless scouts. He tied explosive charges, salvaged from his shuttle's fuel cells, to vines, turning the forest into a maze of danger. Serenya added her own skills. She showed him how to use her alien scanners to track movements from far away. She laid cloaked beacons that sent false signals, confusing the enemy. She sharpened her glowing blade until it could cut through armor like paper. Side by side they prepared. At first Elias moved like a man who carried too much weight. His steps were heavy, his eyes filled with doubt. But slowly the old commander returned. His movements grew sharp, his orders clear, his mind steady. Serenya noticed it, though she said nothing. She only watched him, knowing this was the man she had come to find. The enemy approaches on the 15th day. The first real attack came. 3 scouts broke through the forest, moving fast, their black armor blending into the shadows. Elias and Serenya were ready. The first scout triggered a tripwire and a pit swallowed him whole. The second stepped into a snare and was caught, his body torn apart by sharpened stakes. The third fired wildly, but Serenya leaped from the trees, her blade flashing in the dim light. The scout fell without a sound. When it was over, Elias stood over the bodies, breathing hard. The traps had worked. The plan had worked. But he knew this was only the beginning. "They will come harder next time," Serenya warned, wiping her blade clean. Elias nodded grimly. "Then we'll be ready." The next attack came 2 nights later. This time it was not scouts. It was soldiers, 6 of them, armed with heavy rifles and moving in formation. Elias and Serenya fought together, the forest erupting in fire and smoke. Explosions shook the trees, sending birds scattering into the sky. The soldiers moved with discipline, but Elias had studied the land too well. He knew every root, every stone, every shadow. One soldier fell to a hidden mine. Another was taken by Elias's rifle, a clean shot to the chest. Serenya cut down 2 more with swift, perfect strikes. But then a shot rang out. Serenya staggered, the blast striking her side. She fell against a tree, her silver armor glowing faintly where the plasma had burned through. Elias's heart clenched. Without thinking, he charged forward, firing in controlled bursts. The last soldier turned to flee, but Elias tackled him to the ground, finishing the fight with cold precision. When it was done, Elias rushed back to Serenya. She was on one knee, breathing hard, blood seeping through her armor. "You're hit," he said, dropping beside her. "It is nothing," she answered through clenched teeth. "Don't lie to me," Elias growled. He tore open his med kit and began treating the wound. The burn was deep but not fatal. Still, seeing her like this stirred something inside him, a fear he had thought long buried. As he worked, Serenya's golden eyes studied him. "You could have run," she whispered. "But you didn't." Elias met her gaze, steady and firm. "I'm done running." The return of the commander, Serenya's wound healed slowly, forcing her to rest. During those days, Elias took command of their defenses fully. He patrolled the forest, strengthened the traps, and studied the enemy's patterns. He moved like the commander he once was, giving orders, making plans, preparing for battle. Serenya watched him from her place near the fire, a faint smile on her lips. This was the man she had believed in. One evening, as Elias returned from patrol, Serenia spoke softly. "Now I see it. The fire they fear." Elias raised an eyebrow. "What are you talking about?" "The spirit of humanity," Serenia answered. "Empires have ships, weapons, armies. But humans, you fight with something else. You fight because you refuse to surrender. Even when the odds are against you, that is what they fear." Elias shook his head. "I'm not a symbol. I'm just one man. Sometimes one man is enough," she said quietly. Her words lingered with him long into the night. The enemy's mistake. On the 20th night, the enemy made their move. A larger force landed, their ships cutting through the clouds with fire and thunder. Dozens of soldiers poured into the forest, spreading out in search of him. Elias and Serenia stood on the ridge, watching the lights of their torches flicker through the trees. "They think they can crush us with numbers," Elias said. Serenia's eyes glowed faintly. "Then we show them numbers mean nothing against will." The battle that followed was chaos. Explosions lit the forest, fire spreading through the undergrowth. Elias moved like a shadow, striking from cover, retreating, striking again. Serenia fought with silent precision, her blade flashing in the smoke. The enemy had numbers, but Elias had the land. Every trap he had built, every ambush he had planned, turned the forest into a nightmare for them. Soldiers fell in pits, mines tore through squads, snipers from the ridge cut them down. But the fight was not without cost. The forest burned, the air filled with smoke, and Elias knew they could not hold forever. A decision made. When the last of the enemy retreated into the night, leaving behind their dead, Elias and Serenia stood among the ruins of the forest. The ground was blackened, the air heavy with ash. Serenia wiped blood from her blade, her breath ragged. "They will return with more," she said. Elias nodded. He knew she was right. This battle was only a small victory. The war was just beginning. But something inside him had changed. He no longer felt like a man hiding. He no longer felt like a ghost of the past. For the first time in years, Elias Cade felt alive, with purpose. He looked at Serenia, who met his gaze without fear. "If they want to fight," he said, his voice steady, "then I'll give them one. No more running, no more hiding. From now on I stand." Serenia's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "Then you are truly the man I remembered." Together they turned their eyes to the horizon, where the enemy ships waited in the sky. The storm was far from over, but Elias Cade had made his choice. He would no longer run from the galaxy. The galaxy would run from him. The smoke of the last battle had not yet cleared when Elias Cade knew the end was near. The enemy would not retreat forever. They had tasted defeat, yes, but powerful empires never accepted humiliation. They would return with greater force, greater fire, and greater hunger to crush the one man who had dared to stand against them. And Elias was ready. A message from the sky 2 nights after the burning of the forest. The clouds split apart with the roar of engines. A single enemy warship descended, its massive shadow stretching across the valley. The forest shook as the vessel hovered above, casting down a column of bright blue light. From that light came a voice, cold, metallic, filled with authority. "Elias Cade, former commander of the Terran Vanguard, you are ordered to surrender. Your resistance has cost us soldiers and honor, but we are generous. Come forward and you will be shown mercy." Elias stood in the open clearing, his rifle slung across his shoulder. He listened to the voice with calm eyes. Serenia stood beside him, her armor scarred but her blade still glowing with sharp fire. "Mercy," Elias repeated softly, almost to himself. "They think mercy is something they can offer," Serenia said bitterly. Elias nodded. "They still don't understand humans." He lifted his rifle and fired once into the sky. The shot echoed like thunder, striking harmlessly against the warship's shields. But the sound was clear, his answer was no. The voice from above went silent. Then the ship rose back into the clouds, vanishing from sight. But Elias knew what that meant. The final battle was coming. The calm before the fire. The next day, Elias and Serenia prepared in silence. The forest was nearly gone, burned from the last battle. But Elias found strength in its ashes. The land had shaped him. He had lived here, hidden here, and now he would fight here. This valley would become his fortress even if it burned completely. He and Serenia moved together, placing the last traps, checking the last weapons. They said little, for words were no longer needed. They understood each other in silence. When the sun fell behind the mountains, Elias sat near the fire, his hands steady as he cleaned his rifle. Serenia sat across from him, sharpening her blade. The light reflected in her golden eyes. "Do you regret it?" she asked suddenly. Elias looked up. "What?" "Choosing to fight again. Choosing to stand." He thought for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "No, running felt like dying. Fighting feels like living." Serenia's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Then whatever happens, you have already won." The storm arrives at dawn. The sky cracked open. Warships filled the clouds, their engines roaring like thunder. Dozens of them, dark and heavy, blocking the sun. From their bellies poured soldiers, hundreds, maybe thousands, descending in dropships, their armor gleaming black in the morning light. Elias and Serenia stood at the edge of the valley, watching the storm arrive. "Outnumbered again," Elias muttered dryly. "As always," Serenia answered. "Good. I'd hate for it to be easy." The dropships landed, shaking the ground. The soldiers marched out in perfect lines, rifles raised, armor shining. Their commander stood at the front, a tall figure in crimson plating, his mask shaped like a skull. He raised his hand, and the army stopped. His voice boomed across the valley. "Elias Cade, you are nothing but one human. Do you truly think you can resist the will of an empire?" Elias raised his rifle, his voice calm and clear. "No. But I think one human can remind an empire what fear feels like." The commander gave a signal. The army surged forward, fire and steel. The battle exploded with fury. Explosives hidden beneath the earth erupted, tearing through the first wave. Trees fell, crushing squads beneath them. The ground shook with fire and smoke. Elias moved like a ghost, firing from cover, retreating, striking again. His rifle sang with deadly rhythm, each shot precise. His traps triggered one after another, slowing the enemy's advance. Serenia was fire in motion. She leapt into their ranks, her blade cutting through armor with blinding light. Soldiers fell around her like grass beneath a scythe. She moved too fast to target, her silver armor gleaming through the smoke. But still the enemy came. For every squad that fell, 2 more pressed forward. The valley filled with shouting, gunfire, explosions. The sky itself seemed to burn. Breaking point hours passed, though it felt like minutes. Elias's rifle grew hot in his hands, his ammunition running low. Sweat and blood covered his face. Still he fought. Serenia fought beside him, but Elias could see the strain. Her movement slowed, her wounds deepened, yet she refused to fall. The enemy commander advanced now, cutting through the battlefield with his own crimson blade. He was taller, stronger, faster than the rest. His soldiers followed him like shadows. Elias knew this was the moment. The traps were spent. The ammunition was almost gone. The only thing left was will. He looked at Serenia. She met his eyes and gave a single nod. Together they charged. Duel in the ashes. The commander met them in the center of the valley. His crimson blade clashed with Serenia's silver one, sparks flying like stars. Elias fired his rifle at close range, but the commander's shield absorbed the blasts. With a roar, the enemy swung, sending Serenia staggering back. Elias rolled to the side, firing again, aiming for weak points. The duel raged, fast and brutal. Serenia struck high. Elias struck low, their movements woven together. Yet the commander was strong, his strikes heavy, his armor thick. Finally, the commander's blade cut across Serenia's chest, sending her crashing to the ground. She cried out, her blade slipping from her grasp. Elias's heart froze. The commander turned his masked face toward him. "You are finished, human." But Elias only gritted his teeth, raising his rifle one last time. Not yet. He pulled the trigger. The rifle clicked empty. No bullets left. The commander laughed, raising his blade for the final strike. The spark of humanity. In that instant, Elias remembered every soldier he had once commanded. Every battle. Every oath. He was not just one man. He was all of them carried within him. He dropped the empty rifle and charged barehanded. With a roar, he grabbed the commander's wrist as the blade came down. The strength of desperation filled him, the strength of a human refusing to die. The commander struggled, surprised by the ferocity. Elias headbutted him, tearing the mask free. For the first time, Elias saw the alien's face, cold, cruel, twisted with arrogance. You wanted fear, Elias growled. Here it is. With all his strength, Elias shoved the commander backward, straight into one of the last buried charges. The explosion consumed them both. Aftermath. When the smoke cleared, the valley was silent. The enemy soldiers stood frozen, their commander gone. Without orders, without leadership, they faltered. One by one they retreated, fleeing to their dropships. The great army broke apart, fear spreading through their ranks. Serenia lay on the ground, wounded but alive. She pushed herself up, her eyes searching desperately. And there, through the smoke, Elias stumbled forward. His armor was shattered, his body burned, but he lived. Somehow he lived. Serenia rushed to him, catching him as he fell. You mad human, she whispered, her voice trembling. You actually did it. Elias managed a weak smile. Told you, one man can be enough. A new beginning. Days later, the skies were clear again. The enemy ships were gone, leaving only silence behind. Elias sat on the ridge with Serenia beside him, both wrapped in bandages, both scarred but alive. They will come again, Serenia said softly. Let them, Elias answered. His eyes were steady, his voice calm. This world isn't theirs. It never was. And now they know humanity will never bow. Serenia looked at him, her golden eyes shining with quiet pride. You are no longer hiding, Elias Cade, you are standing. He breathed the clean air, feeling the strength in his chest. For the first time in years, he felt peace. Not because the war was over, but because he was no longer running from it. He thought he was safe once, hiding in silence. But true safety was never in running. It was in fighting, in standing, in refusing to yield. And Elias Cade would never yield again.